I'm Kathleen Sams with Red Heart Yarns, and today I want to show you a couple of different ways to seam in crochet. So right now we're going to start with motifs, and I know a lot of times I hear people fussing about they like to make the motifs but they hate sewing them all together. So hopefully I can give you a couple of quick, nice ways to do this. We have our motifs, right sides facing. We're going to put those together. Make sure you match your stitches. And then we're going to come in and pick up the back loop of the one furthest from you, right in the corner. You see, in this case we have chain 3 in the corner, so I'll come up and I'll pick up that first one, and then I'll come over and pick up the back loop, which is actually in the front facing you. I'm going to pull this through, leave a little tail. You're going to go into the top of that next loop and then back into the loop of the first one that you made. Then we're going to go into the next loop, come back into that first loop there again, pull your yarn through, and you're going to complete this is how you weave. Let me just kind of do a few stitches and watch as I work across. We're matching loops. So you're completing, you're actually going into the loop twice and you're working back and forth. And let me show you how this really makes a nice look. And when you have an afghan laid out like this, you can see it makes a nice little, and it lays very flat. Now another thing you can do with motifs is also put them together, right sides together, and again doing the same thing, working just in the back loop on each one. And again, you can work in the front in both loops. I like the ridge that it makes. And this is a whip stitch. So we're just going to come in and leave your tail there so you can weave that in later, and you're just picking up the loops. See? Pick up the loops. And make sure you've matched them evenly. And you whip stitch across, and you see how nicely that lays. And that leaves just, again, a nice little ridge. Now another thing you can do with the motifs, again, working in the loops with a crochet hook this time, and we're going to slip stitch these together. I'm going to make a chain 1. I'm working again just through those loops, and we're just going to pull that through. Go into the next front loop, back loop, pull that through. Front loop, back loop. And this is really a nice way to put together many motifs. If you're working on a large afghan, this really helps hold it together a lot better than the whip stitch. Let me show you quickly what this looks like. And again, you can see when you lay it out, it makes just a nice little ridge. So when you've got your whole afghan, it's really, really nice. It'll hold up very well. Now, if you're working with regular crochet pieces, you can do the same exact thing. We're going to take our crochet pieces, this is in double crochet, put the right sides together. And sometimes it's really a good idea, if it doesn't get in your way, to leave a long enough tail at the beginning so you can use that to sew up your seam. This is, when you're working in a large piece, the best thing to do is to eyeball your pieces, look at your row ends, make sure you're matching them, and you may want to use seaming pins to pin it together, or you can baste it. I prefer to use the seaming pins to hold everything in place so your stitches aren't off center. And we'll come in just as we did with the motifs. Instead of going into the stitches, we're actually working in the sides of these double crochet stitches, and we're picking up the loops. I'm working over that tail, and that will secure that. And again, this is what we call the whip stitch, and you can see how that lays, and you see it's placing the rows together. Okay, you can also do weaving the same way with this, where we're going to put the right sides together. And again, making sure you're matching your row ends. And what I would suggest you do is with a double crochet, I would put 2 stitches per each bar on the row end. If you're using single crochet, 1 stitch per row. And again, this is, you come through your 2 stitches on the end, and then you're going to back weave into that first stitch, go into the next one, and you're constantly working back and forth in those 2 stitches. Each stitch will have 2 movements. And this is a very secure way of holding your pieces together. This is also a great way to seam sweaters without having the bulky seam, because it lays very flat, and you can see where they're actually just coming together. And then the other thing you can also do is place your right sides together. And we're going to slip stitch this. And again, placing 2 stitches in each row end. Do a chain 1, and you're going to slip stitch, and make sure you get in between, because when you're working with double crochets, you're going to see that there's like holes from the end bar where your chain 3 was created. So we're just going to pull that through and go through the stitch itself. If you can see, right here is your bar for your stitch. Insert your hook in there, pull that through, and that's a slip stitch. So it doesn't make it as bulky as completing a full single crochet. You're just pulling that through. Put a couple more in here. And there you can see how that lays flat. It doesn't have the bulk of it as if you were going in several stitches. So hopefully these little tips will help you sew together your crochet projects.